What would we do if we knew we were the mathematical majority of people in the country? If we knew that we didn't have to persuade the powers that be to listen to us? If we didn't have to convince swing voters to side with us? Despite what you might read in the mainstream media and what the spending and strategic decisions of too many Democratic campaigns might suggest, there is in fact a new majority in America, a new American majority. It is a majority that has risen out of the tear gas, anguished cries, bloodied bodies, and quiet courage of the brave women and men who crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama in 1965. As Jesse Jackson likes to say, the Voting Rights Act was written in blood before it was signed in ink. The Voting Rights Act opened the door to millions of African Americans who had been barred from participating in our democracy, calling into question whether you could even call this a democracy before 1965. What I didn't appreciate until researching and writing my book is that the day after LBJ introduced the Voting Rights Act in his famous nationally televised speech where he said, "We shall overcome," is that he convened his top advisors the very next day and said, "I want to do a whole bunch of big things." And one of those big things was the passage of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 that took down the whites-only signs on U.S. immigration policy. This current anti-immigrant mindset is as old as the country itself. The very first immigration law passed in this country in 1790 said to become a citizen, you had to be a free white person. And that was the law of the land until 1965. Since the passage of the Voting Rights Act and the Immigration Act, America has undergone a profound demographic revolution that has transformed the composition of the country, its voters, its politics, and its policies. People of color have gone from being 12% of the population to 38.4% of the population and growing every day. Less appreciated and also critical to understanding the existence of the new American majority is the consistent solidarity of progressive whites. To read the news today, you'd think that there are only about 1,000 progressive whites in the whole country, and they're all in Brooklyn, Berkeley, and here. But a meaningful minority of whites has always sided with people of color, from the abolitionists to the civil rights movement, workers like James Reeb and Viola Liuzzo, to the allies of the Dreamers and the Black Lives Matter movement today. And we can quantify the size of that population by looking at election data that shows that in every presidential election since '76, 40% of whites on average have voted Democratic. And so the new American majority consists of progressive people of color and progressive whites. And it came of age in 2008 when it elected America's first black president, and it showed its staying power in 2012 when Obama won re-election despite getting 5 million fewer white votes. So we are the majority. The question is, what are we going to do with that power? Our potential and our promise lie in connecting the energy of the twin revolutions of the past 50 years, the demographic revolution and the technological revolution. The events on Bloody Sunday in '65 were captured by broadcast news outlets on film. They were then driven 50 miles from Selma to Montgomery, put on airplanes and flown to New York, and aired nationally on television hours later that night. By contrast, Philando Castile's girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, took out her phone and turned on Facebook Live to capture the murder of her boyfriend. So although we have more technological power, what has remained the same is the reality of too many men in blue shooting bullets into black and brown bodies. And that exemplifies the challenge that we face today. How do we use the demographic and technological revolutions to transform the politics, policies, and priorities of the country? And it's time for us to carry ourselves with the confidence that comes from knowing we are the majority. It's time to stop watering down our public policy agenda out of fear of alienating white swing voters. We can and should have civilian oversight and control of all police departments in the country. We can make college free for everybody, And we can end poverty by instituting a 2% wealth tax on the top 1%, which would generate $500 billion a year. And that's just some of what's possible. Michelle Alexander wrote an excellent piece this week where she said, something more is required of us now, but what? I hope it's a question we're all asking ourselves. For my part, I'm launching a new multimedia digital platform for the new American majority called Democracy in Color to lift up the voices of the leaders and the activists and the organizers of the new American majority. And I hope you'll follow at democracyincolor.com, contribute to it with your writing, and spread the word throughout your networks. But whatever piece of the puzzle you tackle, I urge you to think boldly and creatively about how to maximize this moment. We need a national crowdsourced database that tracks police shootings and also features examples of effective policing. We need someone to mathematically prove that progressives are wasting hundreds of millions of dollars running 30-second television ads targeted at white swing voters, and to show more effective ways to engage people. We need people to volunteer to become digital directors and civic engagement coordinators for every faith-based institution of color in this country. America is at a crossroads this year. The very demographic revolution that has given us this power has created a ferocious counter-revolution that is reminiscent of the backlash to the post-Civil War Reconstruction. This is a moment of truth for all of us to stand up and be counted. And we do that by being bold and creative and courageous, confident in the fact that we are the majority, and cognizant of the imperative to make that majority a permanent force for justice and equality in this country and peace around the world. Thank you.